fantasy football season right around the corner here. And here's the top 15 defenses I'm ranking heading into the year. The first team's the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams here, we know over the last few seasons they've had one of the better defenses in all of football. And obviously it's because of the best defensive player in football, Aaron Donald. And then you got one of the best corners, if not the best corner, in Jalen Ramsey. So right here, this Ram team, once again, they're the number one ranked defense in my book coming into the season with those two dynamic players. And last season, only giving up 278 points total and all the sacks, interceptions, and even touchdowns. So right here, I've seen defenses go in fantasy drafts. 6th round, I started seeing some defenses get drafted, which is a little high in my opinion. But this Ram defense, once again, should cause havoc. I know that NFC West is a pretty tough division, though. I'm not going to lie, obviously, with the Cardinals, Seattle's offense, and San Francisco, if they stay healthy. But this team, they still get to the quarterback. They still make things happen. And week 1, they got a pretty good matchup versus the Chicago Bears. So right here, I got the Rams number 1 heading into the season. Number 2, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was close to me between the Steelers and the Washington football team. But this Steeler team, they got a knack for getting the ball and taking it to the end zone here. And last season, 306 points allowed from this Steeler team, 18 interceptions, 56 sacks, 9 fumble recoveries, and 3 touchdowns. And this season, I know this division's pretty good with offensive teams, but they still find a way to get to the quarterback as this Steeler team. Like I mentioned, when that ball's in the air and up for grabs, most times than not, the Steelers defense comes down with it. And let's be real, last year they started off the season 11-0, and this defense was a huge part of the success in the early going. So I think this Steelers defense once again is going to have a good year. Even though teams have improved a little bit in their division, I still think they get the job done as one of the better defenses, and that's because of the interception rate, and that's because they hold their opponents down when they need to. Number 3, the Washington football team. So the football team last season, they got to the quarterback at a decent rate, 47 sacks, 16 interceptions, and 7 fumble recoveries for this Washington team. And this team, they got a tough division of offenses to face. We know the Eagles could have a dynamic offense with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback now. The Dallas Cowboys, if they stay healthy, they got weapons at every position on the offense. But this Washington team, led by and Landon Collins on their defense, these guys, they get to the quarterback, they make plays, they're a good tackling team. And this team, I think, once again, this is what they're going to pride themselves on. Defense this season. This is what wins ball games still in the NFL. Defense wins championships. We saw with the Tampa Bay Bucks holding down the Chiefs and finishing off that Super Bowl last year. And that's the name of the game. And right here, some weeks we've seen defenses put up huge fantasy points, 30, 40 points. So right here, defense is obviously more important than kicker in my position. So right here, I think the Washington football team can make an impact once again and be one of the best defenses in fantasy football. Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens. So the Ravens, we know over the years, they've been one of the top defenses on and off for the last 10 seasons and always consistent with sacking the quarterback, obviously not giving up crazy amount of points, 20, 23 points a game at most, if that, and also just making plays when they need them to be done. And this is why this Raven team pretty much each and every season are a playoff team, will make the playoffs. And just like the Steelers, though, obviously it's a tough division, a lot of explosive playmakers and good offenses north here. But I still think the Ravens, they're a top 4 defense in my opinion. They get to the quarterback, they hold opponents down, and they got a knack for getting turnovers as well. So right here, the Ravens, their defense, I got number 4, number 5, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Bucs won the Super Bowl last season, and the defense definitely a big part of it. And we saw as the season went on, this defense gets stronger, and them shut down good offenses like the New Orleans Saints, Kansas City Chiefs, and even the Green Bay Packers early in the year. And they signed all their guys back, which no one thought anyone would take a pay cut. But this Buc team, they want to run it back. They want to win a title once again. And their defense really took a big step in the second half of the season, catapulting them into the playoffs and then eventually winning the Super Bowl. So this team, once again, they're locked and loaded, they're ready, and they're another team that keeps opponents scoring down when they need to. They get the interceptions, and they can really get to the quarterback. So right now, this Buc team, I think they're going to have a good defense once again this year. And I got them in number 5. Number 6 on the list is the San Francisco 49ers. So the Niners, This season, they should be healthy and ready to go. Nick Bosa's back from injury. I know it's a tough division over there in the NFC West, but once Nick Bosa's in the lineup, everything just changes and everything gets better here for the San Francisco defense, and they could get to the quarterback. And last season, they still didn't give up that many points per game, about 24.5 points a game this 49er defense gave up. But this season, like I mentioned, they're going to be more improved. And if the offense could stay on the field and turn the ball over less, that's another reason why this defense was put in bad positions last year. A lot of interceptions, obviously a quarterback carousel over there as well for the San Francisco team. Jimmy G, then he went down. Bedford, he was in there a couple times at quarterback. And I forgot they had another guy in there as well. And with the injuries to their wide receivers and running backs. So last year, the offense put the defense in a bad hole most of the times. And that's why it didn't perform like it should have. But this season, if everything goes right and people are healthy, this San Francisco defense, I got at number 6, number 7, the Buffalo Bills, which it wouldn't surprise me to see them be a top 3 defensive fantasy points when it's all said and done this season. This division, it don't have great offenses, and it's got a lot of young quarterbacks as well in this AFC East here this season. The Jets, they going with the rookie Zach Wilson. Patriots, most likely Cam Newton, but I could see Mac Jones taking over sooner than later. And the Miami Dolphins, they're starting with Tua this season, who doesn't have many reps under his belt in the NFL. So this Bill team, once their offense gets off to a big lead like we've seen, they start teeing off at the quarterback, and that's when things happen. And that's why good offense creates good defense as well, because if you're up, 14, 17 points in a game, you're making offenses one-dimensional, and you could tee off and obviously go for those interceptions and the big plays. And that's exactly what the Buffalo Bills did last season. And I expect more of it this year with the younger quarterbacks East and with the explosive offense that these Bills have. They're going to get off to big leads, and they're going to make teams one-dimensional. Once again, number 8, the Kansas City Chiefs, same situation. Just like the Buffalo Bills, once they're up a few touchdowns, they're going to make offenses one-dimensional. And this team last season, it wasn't a great year. Only 32 sacks, 16 interceptions, and 6 fumble recoveries. But this season, we'll see if this team could improve. And week 1, they got a pretty good matchup versus the Cleveland Browns. I know their offense is decent, but I still think this Kansas City Chief team, they showed flashes last year that they could make plays and make stops. And that's what they're going to do. If they get off to big leads, they're going to make the teams a one-dimensional passing team, and they could start getting to the quarterback and creating havoc and turnovers. So I got them in number 8. Number 9, the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins last season, very underrated defense, and they came out of nowhere. And this team plays hard. They had a good season last year. I think they could be a playoff team in the AFC East. The only teams, the Buffalo Bills, they're going to have to worry about, in my opinion, out of those teams. I don't know if Cam Newton and the Patriots are going to be that good this season after last year was a disappointment. But last season, the Miami D, 41 sacks, 18 interceptions, 11 fumble recoveries, and 2 touchdowns. So they know how to get to the quarterback. They know how to keep their opponent scoring down. And like I mentioned, the Buffalo Bills offense is the only team in their division they're going to have to worry about, in my opinion. So I think they're definitely a top 10 defense. And I got them in number 9. Number 10, the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns last season, they surprised a lot of people with their defensive prowess. But this year, it's going to be tougher. You're in a tough division with the Ravens, obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers, and even the Cincinnati Bengals are improving on offense this season. And Joe Burrow should play the full year. So the Browns last year, they gave up a lot of points, 411, but they also won a lot of shootouts, 38 sacks, 11 interceptions, 10 fumble recoveries, and 2 touchdowns last year. But you got Myles Garrett, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league. And you got Denzel Ward, who's a very talented corner right now, anchoring this defense for Cleveland. So Cleveland, that defense can make noise, I think, even in a tough division. And I got them in number 10. Number 11, the New England Patriots. So this is the 3rd team in the AFC East that I got on this defensive ranking. Bill Belichick, he always has his guys go out there and play good defense. And last season, the Patriots, they didn't get to the quarterback as much, only 24 sacks. But this year, they went out there and spent money on edge rushes and offense and everything here. So this year, the defense should be improved. And like I mentioned, these teams in this division, besides Buffalo, have all young quarterbacks who are going to make mistakes and don't have the highest IQs, obviously, because they're rookies in this league, and Zach Wilson and Tua Tagovailoa, who's only in his second year. So last season, 24 sacks, 18 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries, and 3 touchdowns for the Patriots. But with the division factor and Belichick and a few new signings on defense, I think this team could take the next step and be the number 11 defense. Number 12, the Indianapolis Colts. So the Colts last season, they were a tricky defense, which gave up a lot of points, but also had a lot of touchdowns, with 5 on the season last year, and also 40 sacks and 15 interceptions. So the Colts here, they play in a division that, in my opinion, isn't that scary. You got Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, who could turn the football over in his rookie year a lot. Deshaun Watson on Houston, I don't know if he's going to play. The only team they really got to worry about from the defensive end and how to cover is the Tennessee Titans, who have an explosive offense, obviously, with Tannehill at quarterback, Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown as their top guys. They're running out there. But this Colts team, they made things happen last year. Obviously, with Leonard at linebacker, anchoring that defense, this team can make plays. And once again, I think this season they finish in the top 15. And I got them in number 12. Number 13, the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints here, they might take a step back this season, especially with Drew Brees retiring. The offense definitely could trouble the defense. If they have a lot of 3-and-outs or a lot of turnovers in bad field position, it definitely takes a toll on the defense here. So this Saints defense, I think it takes a little bit of step back. And they got a pretty decent offenses as well in their division they got to deal with. Obviously, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won the division. I still think the Falcons could put up some points, even though they lost Julio Jones in the offseason to a trade to the Tennessee Titans. So I think these teams in the division could give them a little bit run for their money here for the Saints. And the Saints last season, 337 points allowed, which is pretty solid. 45 sacks, 18 interceptions, and 8 fumble recoveries with only 1 touchdown. But this season, I think they take a little bit step back, like I mentioned. They're not going to have a great quarterback like a Drew Brees, obviously. And they're just in a tough division with tough teams that on the board in a hurry here. Number 14, the Denver Broncos. So the Broncos last season, it was a very tough season. Von Miller, he missed pretty much the whole year for this Bronco team. But this season, I think they could bounce back and play better over there in the AFC West. And over there, they got some young teams and quarterbacks in that AFC West. Here, you got the Vegas Raiders, who definitely could turn the ball over a lot. You got Justin Herbert, who I know is a great quarterback, but for whatever reason, it seems like the Chargers always turn that football over a lot. And this season, this Denver team, they want to play better. After last year was pretty much an embarrassment all the way around for this Bronco team, but they always pretty much have a pretty solid defense, most years than not. And last year, they gave up 424 points, but because Von Miller wasn't there, 42 sacks, 10 in those, 6 fumble recoveries, 2 block kicks, and a return touchdown. So this season, I expect it to change for them, and I think they're going to improve, and they can't go any worse than here. But this year, with Von Miller back, I got them 14, and number 15, the Minnesota Vikings. I got this Viking team this season. I think they could surprise people. I know they in the NFC North here, where obviously you got the Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, where I think you could tee off on those quarterbacks in Fields or Dalton, whoever's going to start this season. And this team, they still get to the ball interceptions. They still can make plays. And this season, I think they're going to make plays, is this Viking team. And if their offense goes could be as explosive as I think it can this season, they're going to put up points and they're going to make teams one-dimensional as well here is this Minnesota Viking defense. The only team they really got to worry about, in my opinion, in the North here is the Green Bay Packers. So right here, the Minnesota Vikings, I got them 15, so that's the top 15 defenses I'm ranking going into the 2021 fantasy football season.